Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. It is, on the day we are recording, morning here in California and evening in Thailand, where our speaker is going to be sharing with us some photography from her rather nomadic photographer's existence. She is a wonderfully interesting lady, a person who is originally from France, but she has a real passion for people around the world telling the stories and preserving their culture and history. She has spent time with the indigenous populations in Mexico, the shamans in Amazonia, and the Hindu priests in India. And she will tell us about other travels that she has been involved with as a part of her work. She is someone who finds a way to make her photography a service to others. And it was this particular angle on her work that made me especially excited for her to join us. Anne, it is a pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome to the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley, and we are excited to hear your story.
Thank you so much, Rushton. Thank you. Thank you to you and well, to the Rotary eClub from Silicon Valley for giving me this opportunity to share a little bit about myself, my work, my life, and overall about those incredible people that I meet all around the world. So maybe just a quick background about myself. I used to work doing 15 years in luxury goods industry. And I really liked it. I really had lots of fun and I loved working with people coming from everywhere. But at one point, it was just not really fulfilling anymore my dreams, I would say. So I decided to quit my job, to quit Paris and to do my backpack and to fly to Asia. And that was more or less 8 years ago. And since then, well, I'm just traveling wherever I actually feel going. And I became a photographer and I try to use this skill as a photographer to help local communities as well as small NGOs. So I propose you to start with this virtual trip with Colombia. And the first picture you can see is actually, so this woman and this little girl belong to the indigenous matriarchal community called the Cuna. They are located in the Gulf of Urabá, northern Colombia. And those women are just masters in art of mola. The mola is what you can see on their dresses. And originally, they were painting their own body with some symbols coming from nature. But when came the first settlers, they had to wear clothes. So this is when they converted the art on the body on a textile art. So I met this family a few years ago. I became friend with them, and they already had a website to sell and to promote their art of mola. Unfortunately, the pictures weren't really good. So what I suggested them was to kind of do like a deal. I was living with them during several days. I actually stayed with them a bit more than a week. And I was taking plenty of pictures that I gave them so that they could update the website and actually try to promote their work, but also to sell. And that gave me the opportunity to actually understand how they're living, sharing their daily life and sharing meals with them, spending time chatting with them. The Cuna people have quite a good Spanish, so it was easy for me to actually understand their way of life. And it has been a beautiful encounter. So before leaving, I left them, as I said, all the picture like this one or like the one you could see before so that they could update the website and hopefully make more sellings. The second Aboriginal community that I will introduce you is called Embera. And this community has the particularity that women are actually painting their faces. And as you can see, well, right now they're using more modern way to paint their faces, but originally they were using fruit and using what is called jagua to put in their face. And I met this community really went away. I didn't have any contact with them. And suddenly I had one person as a contact, and I just went to meet them directly. They were living quite far in Colombia. And those women were extremely happy to share with me their knowledge, their handicraft they have. And they were very proud to show me that they were doing their own little business, trying to sell this handicraft to other villages. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, they couldn't go anywhere else. They were stuck in their remote village. And they were extremely, well, I would say sad, because they were again depending on the husband's money. So this is when a young Embera woman came with the idea of creating a website, but they were starting from scratch and they didn't have any picture, they didn't have any idea. So as I said previously, I'm not really good in internet stuff. However, I have a little bit more knowledge that they might have. So it took some time to actually check what was possible to do. And of course, I spent a lot of time taking pictures of them working, but also of all the objects. And as you can see, so different kind of handicraft. And I spent more than 10 days, more than 2 weeks actually with them. And it was absolutely beautiful being far away from everything and spending time, especially with those women who were extremely strong. And as I said previously, they really didn't want to depend on the husband's money. So having a website and having a Westerner who find what they're doing really beautiful, I really could feel that they were very proud of what they were doing. So I left, leaving all those pictures and hoping that they would use them for creating a website. So those were two communities, two indigenous communities, but I also try most of the time to get in touch with NGOs, small NGOs that don't have the budget to hire a professional photographer. So let's start with this NGO called CPCS, which means Child Protection Centers and Services. It is located in Kathmandu, Nepal, and they are taking care of children in street situation. So they have several programs. They have the schooling program for some of the poorest kids you can find in Kathmandu Valley. And to do this, they have a partnership with several governmental schools. So the governmental schools in Nepal don't have a big budget. And this is the reason why the NGO is helping and paying for the scholarship for some of the poorest kids that actually could meet, because Nepal is still unfortunately one of the poorest countries in the world. So those kids are coming from parents who just wouldn't have the money to leave the kid at school. And that is one of the programs. The second program is a health program. And so they're also doing the same governmental school where they have the scholarship. The NGO is actually providing nurse, but also the medicine and an attentive listening for the children, because I mean, the parents are just working very, very hard from morning to evening. And usually Nepalese families are big families. So parents are not really taking time just sitting and listening to the children and what happened at school. So this is also what the nurses are doing. And just to finish about Nepal and CPCS, here come a little face that I just found super pretty then that I wanted to share with you. Then let's go to another country. Let's go to India. And this NGO is called Shantimalai. It's located in Tiruvannamalai, so southern India. Tiruvannamalai is a sacred town. They have a holy path where every day thousands of Indian people are coming to walk around a mountain. So no use to say that with thousands of people, well, there are a little bit trash everywhere. So the NGO is taking care of very poor women and widows and doing a kind of partnership with the town now to clean the holy path. This job is given to those women who belong to the NGO. And it was a great encounter. We didn't have any well, we couldn't share with words because they were talking Tamil. I don't, obviously, but just the smiles and the beautiful eyes they had, it was really nice spending some time with them. And so these NGOs, Shantimalai, also take care of widows, young widows, as this woman in pink and her daughter in blue, as well as older widows. But regarding the young widows, so they decided to do a calendar, and they wanted to have some pictures of them. So this is what I did, as well as the older widows, and saying we didn't have a language in common, but I was very fortunate because in India, there is always somebody speaking a little bit English. So I always had a person translating. And as I might have said before, when I take picture of people, I want to spend time with them. The idea is not getting there, taking a picture and just going away. So I always try to know them first and spend some time with them, understand a little bit the background, and then taking their picture. This is really important to me because it's not only about picture, it's about emotions and about sharing. So this is a moment spending time with those old ladies and taking a coffee with them was just absolutely beautiful. And as you can see, one thing that I should mention, we have in the Western world, I would say, we have those places where the old, elder people go. In India, it's not really the case. And the widows, in some places, remote places where they don't have a good education or not enough education, the old widows are just totally unuseful. And unfortunately, some of them are still kind of left beside the road and family just goes away. So these NGOs provide a place, food and healthcare for those old ladies. They were absolutely beautiful. Okay, let's change continent and let's go to Mexico. This is an NGO called Pro Niños, and they take care of street children also and families who really struggle in general about job and in their life. So I went there during the pandemic also, and it was actually kind of helping me because this NGO doesn't allow to put the whole face of the kids. So you're gonna see pictures all from half of the face or with the mask. And as it was the pandemic, it was quite easy for me. And but it was so they're helping, giving some school tuition and some family counseling. And I really have in mind to go back to Mexico. So I hope I will be able to spend some more time with them and also in the street, literally, to see how Mexican young people are actually, unfortunately, some of them still living in the street. Okay, last but not least, this is an NGO called Solimal. We are going back to Nepal, and they are taking care of children coming from the Himalayan region and from the descendant of the Tibetan refugees. They're located in Kathmandu, and they help providing a scholarship to those children. So the Tibetan refugees, or the family, the descendant from the Tibetan refugees, don't have any papers, any idea. So it's hard for them to get a job, and so the families don't have a big budget for the scholarship. So this NGO is helping with taking care of the scholarship and helping with the uniforms and all this kind of things that children need and that the family wouldn't be able to provide. And I might finish by saying a sentence that I read a few years ago, and I keep in mind every day. Well, I try every day, but I just really loved it. And it was, the sentence said, if you want to change the world, start by changing yourself. And this is what I tried to do a few years ago by leaving my job in Paris and by starting a new life. And every day, I try to do something to enjoy life and also to give some time to those people who actually need a little bit of help.
Wonderful, Anne. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm going to take some time to introduce everyone who is on the recording. And in so doing, if your camera is on, please wave as we go. From our club, my name is Rushton Hurley. I am the programs chair. We have our current secretary, Nick Lagarde, in Vancouver. We have Cecilia Babkirk, our treasurer, who is in San Jose, California. We have Chanel, a gift. Chanel, you're a gift to the world. A friend of the club who is in Atlanta. Also, we have in Europe, we have Alexandra, our membership chair. And we have other guests with us as well. We have Chris and Terry, both from the Ontario area of Canada and the District 7040 Passport Club. Welcome to you. We have Heather Edwards with us, a longtime friend of the club and a Metrotarian, the Rotary Club of Eugene Metropolitan. For all of you who are joining us, Rotary, if you did not already know, is an organization of 1.2 million members around the world in 36,000 clubs, each of which works to find ways to improve their communities locally and globally, and in our case, digitally. So with that, I would like to open up to questions. I believe the first question is actually a rather quick one. It came early on in the presentation from Cecilia about the work you did among the Kuna. You said that there is a website. Is that something that you can share with us?
Yeah, totally. Well, I could send you, if you want, the website, the email, so that you can get in touch with those people, because in fact, the idea for them was selling the products in Colombia, but also worldwide. So this is also the reason why I'm talking about them, because I also had, I took some other pictures for other communities, but I had to decide which community I'm going to talk about. And the reason why I talked about the Kuna is also because whenever I have a chance, I try to promote their work. So with pleasure, I will send you the link, so that if people are interested by their art, but what they're doing, and it's an ancestral art, right? It's not something that just popped up in this family. I mean, all the Kuna women actually spend hours every single day doing the mola. So I definitely will do that with pleasure. And especially because this family really became some really good friends that I'm still in touch with. So I would be thrilled to share the website.
Fantastic. And we'd be happy to share that on our club website when this recording is a program for an upcoming week. About the time you were talking about the Hawa face painting practices of the Embera, Nick actually mentioned that he had a question as well. So Nick, I'll hand it over to you.
I have a couple of questions, but I'll definitely let other people ask as well. I'm curious, because you've obviously focused on the social commitment of your photography. How are you choosing where to travel right now?
I don't have, how should I put that? I don't have the impression that I'm choosing anything.
Okay.
I'm more, it just really depends of the people that I'm meeting. And sometimes I just meet in the street, on the beach, in a restaurant, somebody who's telling me something about a community or something about a country, and I just decide to go. And so I'm really, I kind of go with the flow, I would say. So it's hard for me. I never know a long time in advance where I'm going to be. And it's very often, as I mentioned, my next country will be India. It's a country that I know pretty well. So I'm going there in a specific region because I have some ideas already. But I never know, like, 2 days in advance where I'm going to sleep or where I'm going to go. And this is the life I have decided to have. I have a nomadic life, and I'm happy with that. But as said, I'm not the kind of person who's taking a book and start reading about, oh yeah, I could go there. Let's study about the country. No,
Yep.
I rather actually just follow my feelings.
Great. Okay. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The next question I had, well, there's two more that I definitely have, and the one which is I saw a number of comments when we're seeing your photos. They're beautiful. Thank you for sharing them. And I'm curious how much of a photographer you were before you left Paris, or was this something you came to and developed as a skill after?
It definitely came after.
Cool.
Yeah, in my family, my mom was the one taking pictures and annoying me by taking pictures of me all the time. So really, the camera never was in my hands. And when I left Paris and when I went for this trip that should have been only 3 months at the beginning, I just obviously I left with a camera and I just loved it. I just loved it. And very, very quickly, it became part of the journey. And right now, I mean, really my two passions, and I really can't imagine my daily life without traveling and without having a camera in my hands. So, but it came after.
Okay, awesome. One last question, Rushton, because you mentioned with the face masks with the children where you can't show the whole face. It made me question about, obviously you were traveling before COVID. When COVID hit, how were you restricted or not restricted?
Yeah, I would say half-half. I was in India when COVID started, and to be fully honest, I think I would have stayed in India because I really didn't have in mind to go back to Europe. But for some family reasons, I had to go back. 2 weeks later, so I went back to France. 2 weeks later, they closed the border. So I stayed home a little while. And I got to a point that, yeah, I really, really needed to get back to my nomadic life. So I stayed home a few months and then I left. And unfortunately for me, South America was quite open. Mexico was always open. Some other country like Colombia were open, or with some restriction, but still fine to travel. And so, yeah, I just, maybe for the first time, I had to follow the rules and go to the countries that were open. And I was not totally free to decide where I wanted to go, but I managed.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So a great question came up as a part of the presentation. You show a lot of effectively very personal pictures, right? You know, in capturing these photographs as artistically as you do, you're obviously connecting with the people there in ways that could open you up to perhaps some criticism related to cultural appropriation. You talk about spending lots of time with the groups that you help, you know, through your photography. What kinds of things do you do to make sure that how the groups that you work with, how they welcome what you do? Like what are kind of your rules about those kinds of things?
Well, first of all, when I get to a indigenous community, for example, let's talk about them. I always spend several days without even touching the camera. So they know why I'm staying with them, but I do not touch the camera. It's staying in the bag, and I just try to understand how they live. The main reason why I'm traveling is to learn. It's not for taking pictures, as much as I love that, but it's to learn and to spend time with those people. So it's what I try to do. And then once I understand a little bit the daily life, at what time they wake up, at what time they sleep, how they eat and all this, once I understood a little bit the way everything worked for them, this is when I take the camera. And they always know why I'm there. And I said, I always try to do how you call that, a kind of exchange. I'm not only taking pictures and go away. There is this other indigenous community in Colombia also. They have quite a lot of indigenous community, very interesting. They are called the Misak. They are really, really not keen on opening their doors to foreigners and even to Colombians. So I spent time with them. I talked to several people taking care of the community to have the agreement to actually take pictures. So I only do that when people are actually okay. And if they don't, it's fine. I just spent some time in Panama, for example, with another, in Panama, you have lots of Kuna people and they live on islands, but they are really not keen on people taking pictures of them neither. That was fine. I went there, I spent some time with them. I understood how they live, how they're living. And I left without taking any pictures because that was the rules for them. And I totally respect that. So it's always, as I said, I'm not taking pictures and running away with my pictures. It's an exchange that we're doing. They need pictures. Well, I take them and then I give them. I have the right to use the pictures as I wish, which means if I want to share the pictures with some other people, I can do it, like I did with you. But I give them the pictures so that they can use them as they wish to develop tourism, to develop work, yeah, for anything they need. Sometimes it's to do, how you would say that, the archive. So you keep like the story of the community. And so that happened also.
Fantastic. So let's wind down with the final question. How do you fund your work?
I'm lucky enough to have, because as I said, I'm just following I'm just going wherever I want to go. So luckily, I mean, with the work I had before and with what I have in my hometown, I actually managed having this nomadic life and spending some time with those people and giving time to them. So to be fully honest, it's mostly what I did before and the investment that I could do that allow me to have the life I have right now. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
Well, it sounds like you have made really impressive choices about how you spend your resources, but also how you connect with others. And so I think a lot of us in Rotary have plenty to learn from the care that you bring to interacting with people in different parts of the world. So thank you again for such a wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much, Rushton.
Absolutely. Before we hand it back to Anne for a final word, several thoughts for all of you who are joining us from around the club and around the world. We hope you will do a couple of things for us. First, let us know you were here. On the week that this is our program, if you scroll a little bit farther down our page, you will find an attendance form. And that attendance form just asks you to give your name and your email address correctly. And by doing so, you'll receive an email that you can pass along, Rotarians, to your club secretary to make up a miss. While Rotary may not require people to attend all the time, those of us who attend all the time find it a wonderful source of energy and inspiration for how we think about our place in the world. Also, visitors, at the bottom, you'll find our Discuss section, DISQUS. It's a forum, and it's one of the ways our online and asynchronous club allows its members to interact with each other. So you can respond to ideas that you encountered in this program, to other pieces of the meeting, to other comments that people have left, and we hope you will do so. As always, you can find plenty of material that we have gathered for Rotary audiences and anyone interested in the service at our site, which is siliconvalleyrotary.com or rotary.cool. Yes, really. So with that, we'd like to hand it back to Anne for a final word. Anne, again, such a joy to have you. And what can you say to finish us off today?
Well, I thank you again, not because, not only for talking about myself, but because you let me sharing with you those pictures about those, I said, incredible people. And I think we really, well, I try with my pictures to show the importance of the human diversity. So it's really what I try to show through my pictures. It is important. We don't have to be all the same. It is important to respect the people who are not wearing the same clothes, who are not speaking the same languages, and who are putting tattoos in their face if they want to. So this is what I tried to show you, and also I'm actually trying to help how I can people around the world when I'm traveling, but sometimes there is just a neighbor who needs some help. So it's not necessary to actually travel the world to be helping people. Sometimes they're just in front of us. And yeah, I guess that's the end.
Beautifully said. Everyone, thank you for joining, and we will see you next week.
Mhm.